I'm Sean White, and today we're meditating on staying hydrated. So here in the U.S., it is summertime, and the temperatures have been a little bit high, right? I just came off of 3 days in a row of 90 degree plus days here in New Jersey, and I know down in the South, in the Southwest, they had a scorcher of a heat wave recently with temperatures going into the hundreds, and which there was a few fatalities because of that as well. So that's why I wanted to talk to you today about staying hydrated, because this is something that's very, very important, right? It's not just kind of buzzword type things that sports drinks come up with to try to get you to drink more water. The reality is, it can be quite fatal, right? The body can go. It's been reported 8 to 21 days. There's been instances that people have gone without eating, and you probably could go longer than that. Although I can't imagine going 3-4 weeks without eating food. But you could, right? If you had to, you could. However, fluid intake, more than 3 days, that's when it becomes fatal, right? This is the problem. That we start getting into severe organ failure at that point. So we need to make sure that we're keeping our body hydrated. And for the most part, I think a lot of us do a really good job of it, but I also think there's some confusion on it too. Like, how much should we be drinking every day? How much water should we be taking in every day? Well, it's a little bit of a gray area, right? Everybody's heard the, drink 8 cups of water a day. That'd be 64 ounces. That's a good recommendation. It's a good, solid recommendation. It's not the only one, though. I've seen 13 cups for men, 9 cups for women. I've seen 15.5 cups for men, 11.5 cups for women. I've seen a half an ounce to a full ounce per a pound of body weight. So for me, I'm 5'9", 165 pounds. That would be anywhere from 10 cups to 20 cups per day. Which is a lot more than 8 cups, right? But what does this mean, though? These recommendations also include food in on that as well, right? So it's not just drinking that much liquid, it's taking in that much liquid in a day. So if you eat foods that are high in water content, take like fruits, watermelon's a great example, very, very high in water. Blueberries are 85% water. I talk about blueberries all the time because I love them. Also things like spinach. Spinach is very high in water. If you're eating a lot of foods like this, then the amount that you need to drink becomes less, because you're getting your fluid intakes through other measures, right? It's that becomes the big thing, is making sure that we are getting enough, not just through like drinking water, but also through our foods. But also we need to keep in mind, if we are eating foods that are having that opposite effect to us, if we're drinking lots of coffee and stuff like that, then we also need to up our fluid intake. So we need to be mindful of what we are eating and what we are drinking, right? We also need to consider ourselves, our bodies, our body mass, our body height, right? If you are 6 foot, 200 pounds, you're going to need more water than someone who's 5 foot, 100 pounds, right? So that's why these recommendations are just recommendations and not like scientific, factual guidelines. Other things that we need to take into consideration is our activity levels, right? Are you going to the gym and doing intense workouts? Are you working a job that is physically demanding? Do you lead a very sedentary lifestyle and you sit on the couch all the time? These are going to affect how much fluid intake you need to do. Also think about the climate that you're currently in, right? If you are in a warmer climate, your body's going to sweat more, you're going to be losing more fluids, therefore you need to increase your fluid intake rather than, if it's a cooler temperature. So for me, in the winter, I don't need to take in as much as I do in the summer. I'm also very active outdoors, so I really have to ramp it up a lot. Another thing to think about is, what is your current health situation, right? If you have a fever, if you're experiencing vomiting, if you have diarrhea, these are all things that, cause your body to lose fluids faster. Therefore, we need to step up our fluid intakes a little bit more and, make sure that we're replenishing. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, you need to increase your fluid intakes a little bit more. So these are all things that we need to think about. So what are some symptoms of dehydration? So if we're not getting enough fluids, what are some symptoms? So the most basic and easiest one is, do you feel thirsty? That's your body talking to you, right? Our body's talking to us all the time. We really need to listen to it. So yeah, if you feel thirsty right off the bat, if your mouth is dry, if your lips are dry and starting to feel like a little chap, most likely you're suffering through some dehydration. It could also be lightheadedness and dizziness. You might be feeling a little nauseous. If you're urinating less frequently, or particularly if your urine is a much darker color, and maybe has a little bit more of a stronger odor to it, most likely you're dehydrated. So this is when we need to start stepping up our fluid intakes. So what are my recommendations for that? Well, I'm going to say hydrate early and often. How early is early? Well, as soon as you wake up is early for me, right? Reason why is, if you got a good night's sleep, and hopefully you did, you might have just gone 8 hours without taking in any fluids. That's a third of the day already gone. You wouldn't think about not drinking anything for a third of the day that you're awake, right? So as soon as you start, your body kind of needs to get going with that. Your muscles are going to kind of need it. As we say, drink a little water, do a little stretching, start your day off that way, even before your coffee. And I say often, your body is not equipped to handle large amounts of water all at once, right? So if you realize that you just went half the day without drinking anything and you're completely parched, drinking a gallon of water is not going to be good for you. My friend who is a massage therapist explained this to me really well. And so what he said was, think about when you have a potted plant that you just haven't watered for a long time and that soil is really dry, right? When you go to put water on it, the water doesn't absorb into the soil. It sits on top, it runs off the side, it doesn't get in. The soil needs to be a little bit moist to be able to absorb water better. Our muscles are the same way. If they are completely dry, you need to give them little bits of water to kind of start hydrating them up to get them to be able to absorb water again. So think about what your water requirements are for the day and divide that out. Don't drink it all at once. Just throughout the day, just keep drinking a little bit of water, particularly on hot days, particularly on these summer days, if you're down at the beach or whatnot, outside working, outside exercising. Make sure that you're drinking a little bit more frequently rather than a lot less frequently. The other thing that take into consideration is not over drinking water. That can also be a problem. There's a condition called hyponatremia. So this is when the sodium levels in our body drop to too low of a level, and this can happen from having too much water in the body dilutes that down, right? Dilutes the sodium down. Now, sodium is an electrolyte, and what it does is it helps regulate the water in the body. Without it, there tends to be an excessive amount of water, and our cells then can become swollen. They can swell up with this excess amount of water. This can be really, really problematic. Some of the symptoms are mild, but it can go to the realms of being fatal, right? It can cause seizures. It can put people into comas. Usually with older adults that are on prescribed medication. But be aware of that. This is something that can happen. We constantly talk about balance in life. This is another instance of it. We want to make sure that we're taking enough, taking in enough fluids to keep our body properly hydrated, but we don't want to overdo it. We don't want to go crazy with it and just, drink, 80 cups of water in a day if our body can't handle that. So I hope this is giving you some stuff to think about. I want you to be safe, particularly if you're out this summer enjoying yourselves. If you like this video, please click the like button. And if you want to hear more of what I got to say, then subscribe and turn on notifications and find out when new videos come in. Also, leave me some comments down below. I love starting dialogues. Are you the type of person that walked around with a gigantic water bottle with you all the time? Or are you the type of person that goes, oh my God, I just realized I haven't drank anything all day? Let me know. Let me know which type of person you are. No judgments here. So until we speak again, be well, be safe, and be kind to everybody.